Hey, New York Jet fans from all around the world. Welcome to Laugh Through the Turbulence, a New York Jets podcast, the show that delivers you all your Jets content. Here are your hosts, John, Adden, and Monty. All the best to the New York Jet fans. J-E-T-S, Jets, 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 go Jets.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the last day of July and no football. Yeah. That's what happens next month, which is tomorrow.
All right. Football starts. Let's go.
That's correct. Football starts, actual. Real football. You know, games, people bashing heads, maybe wearing foam helmets or whatever. But fuck it. You know, actually, that was a thing now. They could put the foam helmets on full time now, right? The foam shit around it, right? No one's going to do it, right?
I think they're experimenting with that. I don't know if it's going to be, in effect for this season, but maybe soon.
But yeah, they've been kind of playing with the idea of doing that long term. I don't know. It looks goofy, but I mean, if it keeps players on the field, got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, if it limits concussions, then more power to it.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so we got some topics, right? The first one is going to be about Will McDonald, my boy, who I'd like to get on the podcast too. So, Will McDonald, if you got nothing else going on, might as well come on the show.
Come on down.
He's all hit up busy, by the way. But anyway, he has some free time maybe. But anyway, Will McDonald.
That's not going to get him to come on the show, man.
He scored in practice. Actually,
we scored him.
He scored in practice. Izzy.
All right, hey Izzy.
Yeah, doing good, man.
The running backs are looking good. But anyway, Will McDonald is sliding down the depth chart. And it doesn't sound like it's because somebody else is rising up the depth chart as much. Maybe Michael Clemens a little bit now, but that's kind of what the sentiment is. I guess let's gather some thoughts about this and see how we kind of feel. I'll start with Adnan. Adnan, are you panicking? Are you furious? What's going on with you?
I think to me with Will McDonald, this will go to my, the constant theme that, whenever we talk about him, good player, not the right pick for this team. And I think when I look at Will McDonald, and I'm going to make a comparison here, not comparing talent, position, or anything like that, just situation. I think Will McDonald is in a similar situation that Zach Wilson is in or was in. And what I mean by that is, when the Jets drafted Zach, the whole point was Zach was going to grow with the team, right? And what happened for Zach, unfortunately, is the entire roster ascended and he was still too raw to keep up, right? And I think that's what we're seeing with Will McDonald. Will McDonald was a raw player and talent, yes. But to draft somebody where they did, I think the problem for Will McDonald is he needs more refinement. He needs to be in a situation where he has an opportunity to grow. And the problem is the Jets can't wait for him to grow, right? So I think that's what you're seeing here is guys that, guys like, Tack McKinley are playing over him. Why? Because they are pro ready. They are a little bit older. McKinley's 28 years old. He's been around the block. You have guys like Michael Clemens who are coming into their own and accelerating faster, right? So I think it was a mistake to draft him, not because he isn't talented, but it isn't what this team needed, right? And with a first-round pick, you expect immediate production. Right? He's not Bryce Huff. He doesn't get 4 years as an undrafted free agent to grow into being a good pass rusher. He's got to be a pass rusher day one. Additionally, I think one of the things that is also hurting his case, I did read that the Jets wanted him to put on weight, get stronger, come in bigger, and he reported basically the same exact weight as last year. Right? So the coaching staff has asked him to do something. He didn't do it. And you look at a guy like, Kinlaw, who put on 35 pounds of lean muscle because he knew he needed to do that. Nobody asked him to. Nobody told him to. And I think when you look at a guy like Will McDonald and juxtapose that with, a guy like Kinlaw, I just think the Jets staff is kind of looking at this as we don't have time to waste. If people are outperforming him, they have to play. And I think that's what we're starting to see a little bit with Will McDonald. Just his rawness is showing up.
Cool. Monty, you may take the floor.
Yeah, I'm a little more torn on it than I was originally. I mean, I definitely agree that a number 15 overall pick should be developing faster, right? It took Bryce Huff, 2 years to become kind of like backup level. It took him 3 years to hit elite level. And then in his fourth year, he really, really, had his breakout in terms of production. Will did have a start-worthy grade in his first year, but he was also kind of used, if we're talking about PFF grades, and just
third
general
amongst that class for edge rushers, third overall.
Right.
Behind Will Anderson, who won Defensive Rookie of the Year, and then Nick Herbig, who Pittsburgh took later in the draft.
Right. But, the other side to that is he was on a stacked offense with a very defensive-minded coach. He was used very specifically and in limited fashion. Which again comes back to him kind of being not really this complete guy, like, more along the lines of like Jermaine.
Anderson?
No, like Jermaine. Like no. I'm still talking about Will McDonald.
All right.
Yeah. Cool. So if he was really this complete player that, you really want, because like if you're going to spend the 15 pick, right, it just can't be a situational guy. And I haven't seen where he isn't a situational guy. Like Adnan said, he came back in a little slimmer. I mean, not slimmer. He came in slim. He put on a little more muscle apparently, but he is the same weight. So it's the same weight, but his muscle, I guess, ratio is better now. He's more of a, a little bit bigger, but still, I mean, like, it really then comes down to like, you got to look at like alternatives and stuff like that. Like we could have had Dalton Kincaid. We could have had Zay Flowers, could have had Jordan Addison. We could have kept John Franklin Myers, and still gone after Riddick. John Franklin Myers is only 28. We could have also gotten a developmental guy like Zach Harrison, who actually was a third rounder. He's on ATL now. And he had around the same or more sacks than Will McDonald his first year. And he's more of a complete at his size. He's like 6'5", like 260 or something. He's a big boy. That's more of a guy that you can just shove out there and keep out there for a whole game, as opposed to like having to swap kind of back and forth because Will's only really good for the pass rush. So, I do see some aspects of, Will has shown he's graded out well, according to PFF. He had production sacks his first year. In terms of like looking at what he's been able to do, he was basically as good, production wise as a Huff, as a Jermaine, when they started. But the problem is those, we know what Huff is now, and he's, a top guy, and Jermaine is more of a 3-down guy. You know what I mean? So that's where it is for me, is that like he's kind of like he's good, and I think he's solid, and I think he will be good, but we needed someone who is like really going to be good now, and we could have gotten guys later in the draft to develop for edge, and we could have taken maybe like a Kincaid or a Zay Flowers or someone like that and just boosted up the offense. I mean, we just let a tight end go this past week, so
Okay, can I go?
Yep.
It's just fucking practice. Go with the tape that you had on Will McDonald last year. Let's stop second guessing ourselves until we see him on the field year 2, right? Mm-hmm. Just for context, right? So obviously Will McDonald was third by PFF last year amongst the rookie edge guys. If you look at the previous year and how they did in year 2, Jermaine is number 2 in the group, right behind Aiden Hutchinson, who had a 91 grade. Jermaine had an 83 grade. Actually, interesting enough, Michael Clemens If you took out the guys under 100 snaps, Michael Clemens would be 5th amongst them, even though he had a bad year, supposedly, right? I trust this defense to teach the edge guys how to be edge guys. I mean, they did it with Huff. They even did it with Franklin Myers, who was he undrafted? He was undrafted too, right? But the Rams took him, right? So, you know what? I'm just gonna trust the process on that one and just fucking move on. That's kind of it, right? I'm gonna if Will McDonald starts fucking up during the games, then okay, we're not getting pressure, right? But I'm gonna have faith that he is because he's a first round talent, and I believe in Joe Douglas's evaluations, on defense especially. And obviously Ulbrich is another one who I believe in too. Right, just like he believed in, I guess Fashanu when he was at the Senior Bowl because he was the coach, right? And there's that the clip of him at the bowl. He's like, he's got to be a fucking Jet, you know. So I'm just gonna trust it and just kind of move on from that.
I think the question is, can he be what the Jets need him to be? Not can he be a good player. He can definitely be a good situational pass rusher. He can be, maybe a Bryce Huff replacement, maybe a Bryce Huff light, or maybe, better. But I think what the Jets more needed, especially now, right? Like, see, here's another problem. There's another dimension to this.
Can't play that game right now, dude. Play with what you got, dude.
But the other dimension to this is like he's not doing good in practice, and we're in the middle of a holdout situation with Reddick, right?
Yeah,
if
but
Will was doing
Allen
what
Iverson, man. We're talking practice.
Yeah. I know, but the thing is, that's all leverage for Reddick to now break the Jets' balls and get either more money out of us, which puts us in a bad situation, or just continue to hold out and not, and make that situation exacerbated. Well, like if Will was out here smashing it, then that would be a lot. I would feel a lot better about that situation. I think the Jets would too. I don't think the Jets like that.
I think it's still the same regardless, leverage or not leverage based on one guy's performance. I really think it is. I think it's a little bit of an overthink, if that makes sense, right? I think Reddick has a number, Douglas is a number, and supposedly they're talking again, right? The two sides. So like, I don't think it's not going to be like, well, we can get $27 million because Will McDonald ain't showing up, or like Michael Clemens is Michael.
Kind of. They'd be like, who else you got?
I don't think
he's going to be like, who else you? Why?
I think. Well, he does. He doesn't have a contract beyond this year, so he could either choose to not take that $15 million. Well, it's actually more than that because it's cash, right? You can either choose to not take it and then try it again when he's at the 30 mark, or it's going to get done. I think Reddick's going to get done at some point. I don't think I see a situation where Reddick's not in shoulder pads by, let's call it, week 2.
Right, John, I don't think it's a question of it getting done. I think it's a question of cost, right? And Monty is exactly right, because what caused Reddick to take this stance is he saw that JFM was gone, was traded after they traded for him.
We don't know that. We're assuming that we don't know that.
It's pretty obvious, though.
I mean, look,
these guys don't know that. We don't know that.
Dude, that's Connor Hughes reported that.
That's
right.
Basic,
that was your number one pick.
That's basic logic.
Draft.
I know he's my number one pick, and I love that pick. And I'm still waiting to play golf with you, Connor Hughes. So let's get that done.
So I think that's the point, though, right? Is that you have reputable guys that you definitely trust, John, reporting that.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
The fact is, every day that Will McDonald moves down the depth chart is extra leverage that he gains, and he's going to use it, right? And I think on top of that, I think the other piece of it, again, is what Monty said, is that, if they saw this guy taking a step that Jermaine was going to take, I don't know why you trade for Reddick, right? There could have been other moves to be made that you could have got a veteran.
You could have just kept, or you could have just kept JFM.
Well, JFM was going to be the same cap hit as Hassan Reddick anyway, and then if Reddick gets a new deal, obviously that cap hit's going to decline because of the way cap gets spaced out. So no matter what, your cap hit with Hassan Reddick is going to be lower than what it would be if you had JFM, and JFM did decline last year. So that's kind of the whole thinking there.
Well, I think the point also is more so that I just don't think the staff trusts Will McDonald to make the jump. Because if they did, they wouldn't have made that move.
All right.
Right?
Well, I'm going to do this. I want to take a bet with one of you right now. Someone said an over-under on Will McDonald sacks. I said snacks like Damon Harrison. Great job. Who wants to take that bet? I'm going to set it at 6.5 sacks.
6.5 sacks.
In 17 games, I mean...
Yeah, come on. Don't be a pussy. You guys are talking big shit here.
But this 6.5 sacks mean he had a good season? You're the one
well, it's going to be it's going to be number 3 on the edge poll, right? After Reddick and Jermaine, right? Jermaine last year had 9 sacks, right? And you guys are down on Will McDonald, so 6.5 sacks. I think that's a fair over/under.
Well, you've also said that sacks are a number one indicator.
I agree with that too.
Right,
I agree with that too. But we're going hard. All right, so you want to do pass rush win rate? I'd be more than happy to go that.
What do you set that the pass rush win rate for Will McDonald?
Why don't I do this? You want to do true pass set, which is 1-on-1, or just win rate, general win rate?
I think general is fine. I don't think we have to get too granular.
Why don't
you want to do 15.5%?
What was his last year?
I'm looking at that right now.
And what was Jermaine's and what was Huff's?
There you go. All right, so Jermaine was 12.4. Okay. Let's see. Where are you, Will McDonald? Win rates. Will McDonald was a 16 last year.
Okay.
Which is good. And that's why I'm telling you guys, the sacks are coming for him, bro.
Yeah, in 99 pass rush snaps, right? So
that's still 16, that's 15 or 16, whatever. Go and get it through. That's a decent sample size. I mean, that's a law of large numbers is 30 typically, and that's 100.
I mean, Jermaine had 445 pass rush snaps.
Right, and 12%. 12.4. Look, you guys don't want to take the bet because you're fucking wussing out. That's all fine with me.
It's not about that. It's just making sure.
Take a bet. Take 2 seconds.
I'm not just gonna take a bad bet.
Virtually 6.5 sacks.
I'm not just gonna take a bet. I'm not just gonna take a bad bet.
Well, you said
so 6.5. So you said 6.5, right?
6.5
because all right. What did I just say 2 minutes ago? I didn't say he's gonna suck. Like that's
what I'll do.
You think we're saying he's gonna suck?
I have to hit both 6.5 and I have to hit the 15% pass rush win rate. Parlay, and give me 4-1 on that one. $20. So you owe me 80 if it hits both. I have to hit both. 50-50 times 50-50.
So let me ask
2 coin flips.
3-1.
Wow, you're a vagina. That's a worse vig than the fucking thing. Not that. If you do 50, all right. If you do the real vig percentage, right? Real vig, that's 52.5 times 52.5, right?
Listen, I'll be honest. I get what we're doing here.
All right, 3-1. That's basically 3-1.
Here's what
all right.
Hold on.
Take the hand. Thank you.
I think this is I get the spirit of what we're doing here, but
we're gambling, bro.
But wagering on a Jet player on Monty's side to not do well, I don't feel like it's something.
Well, the Jets win the Super Bowl. Who the fuck cares, dude?
Yeah, it's honestly,
it
doesn't matter.
I have a friend, John Pazul, and if you're here listening to John Pazul, you're a fucking tool. But he takes bets on unders for the Jets all the time, and he always tells me, I'll give you Super Bowl bet this, and I'm like, all right, I'll take it, or I'll take this, on the over-under on the wins, So 2 years ago, I took the over-under on 7, which was inflated from the 5.5 that they were at, and they fucking crushed it, but then they fucking lost 6 games in a row at the end of the year, so I didn't fucking win my money, and I was really pissed off about that.
That sucks.
Anyway, let's move on. Okay, so we're going to do Malachi Corley is making some noise. Let's talk a little bit more buzz. Basically, he's looking pretty good right now. Which is exciting because I guess Mike Williams has really just been kind of working out, not really in physical, in training, right? Alan Lazard's looked good. Garrett Wilson looks like he's going to break every fucking receiving record in one season. But if Malachi Corley is your wide receiver 4 and he's looking good, it's good. This is good for everybody, right? So I'm happy about it. Are you guys excited about it, or what do you guys feel? I mean, it was just the thing that one of you guys mentioned in our chat, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's comforting to see him, doing the things that he was doing in college now at an NFL level versus, the Jets defense in practice. Well, but to use your own words, it's practice. To use AI words, it's practice.
Exactly.
So
who cares?
So it can go both ways. It can go both ways. Right. But I mean, he's had multiple impressive practices at this point. So it's not just today he went off and whatever. I mean, he's making one-handed, Odell Beckham grabs. I don't think the physical talent was in question at all. But again, it's comforting to see it here. For me, he still strikes me as a situational yards after catch, jet sweep type of guy, because he just doesn't have the route running cleaned up. I mean, even Robert Saleh is quoted as saying he has a long way to go with his route running. So yeah, I mean, listen, it's great, good to see. It's definitely it's comforting. I mean, listen, I always want to hear good news out of the Jets camp. I don't want to hear shit news like Will McDonald sliding down the depth chart, for example. But he's got upside. The kid's got one of the best passers in the history of football throwing him the ball. Sky's the limit for him. I think he'll do well. But I'm just I'm not like over the moon, but I'm happy.
Okay, Adnan, go.
Yeah, I'm happy. I think and just to kind of get back to this sentiment about it's just practice, it isn't, because training camp is your tryout for everybody. This isn't a Wednesday walkthrough of game week when you can say, it's just practice, right? This is where people coming back, rookies, second-year guys, young players still have to prove themselves. So it's hyper important what they do every single day during training camp, right? Including Will McDonald, Malachi Corley, whomever you want to talk about. I think the best thing about Corley is if he can keep this momentum up, if he can show flashes in preseason games, every time he's on the field, it's going to give the defense something to think about, right? While he's getting his route running, refined, while he's working on the little things of being a wide receiver, every time he's on the field, the defense is going to have a, whoa, wait a second, what's going on here moment, right? Whether he's a decoy, whether the play is for him, whether he's a second option. And if they can find ways to get him in certain positions early in the season, it's going to be a very, very positive thing for this offense. So I'd love to see it. And I think, going into training camp, there was some talk that, after OTAs, things of that nature, he wasn't running with the ones. He was kind of, down a little bit on the depth chart. But now he's taking advantage of, Gibson being hurt. Lazard was hurt today. So the more advantage he can take, the more reps he can get, I think the better. So this is nothing but good news for me.
Yeah, it's all good news. It's just practice, though. We'll see what happens, right? That's basically all I can say about it.
It's not just practice and training camp. You can say that.
I mean, so Adnan, to your point, real quick. I see what you're saying, and I can kind of agree with it. But what I will say is, I think your point's more valid when you're looking at the entire body of his training camp. Like when you look at his training camp as a whole, we're just looking now at 2 slices, which is a couple of days of good practice.
Right.
So it is just practice for 2 days. But if he continues this through the whole camp and then into preseason, now we're talking about some real stuff, real meat on
right. And that's exactly what I said, right? If he keeps up the momentum, it's a great thing. He's taking advantage of the time he's gotten with the ones. He's made some great passes or made some great catches on passes from Aaron Rodgers, which is huge. So these are things to build on. And yes, you're right. It is 2 practices, but we can't just say these 2 practices don't matter because it's just practice, right? Each individual practice is a big piece of the entire puzzle, right? So
I don't think it doesn't matter. I wasn't saying that.
Right, no, but I get it. But I'm just saying that, like, I just don't think in training camp we can ever say it's just practice. right? Again, the Allen Iverson thing, yeah, on a Wednesday in February, he doesn't show up to a practice. That is what it is. But in training camp, these are guys fighting for their jobs, fighting for playing time, all of that kind of stuff. So I think this is really important, and it's good to see Corley again taking advantage of the opportunities that he's gotten.
I think that was well said. Good job.
We'll see.
All right, next topic. Garrett and Aaron had an argument. It was recorded by someone on, with their Twitter. Got a ton of hits. Congratulations to that dude for getting some hits on your Twitter. Garrett had a good response to it. He's basically saying, we're just very passionate about the whole thing, blah, blah, blah. I think that's pretty much it on that one, right? You guys really see anything on that in terms of just like, hey, this is like a big deal or anything like that? I think not, right? These are two fucking rock stars that are just gonna fucking
not at all.
Garrett Wilson talks over fucking people's faces. When
Garrett, I don't know how we got lucky, but Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner are two of the most mature, poised, well carried rookies I've ever seen. Like these dudes, like in any sort of like Twitter or any sort of like interview or whatever, these guys
Jermaine's like that
just
too. Jermaine
always
say, like that too. Yeah,
they just always say the right thing. Brees is kind of just more of a quiet guy, I feel like, in general.
He was good last year, though.
I wouldn't expect him to. I just wouldn't expect him to say one way or another. But like Garrett and Sauce really impressed me specifically with how well poised they are. And, I don't expect guys like that to just fly off the handle unnecessarily. He probably had a good point, which is why Aaron was, if you look at Aaron's body language in the video, like he's kind of like, I get you, but, you know what I mean? Oh, but, and then they ended with a handshake on good terms. So it's nothing. It's just guys getting heated in practice for a good reason. Passionate. I love it. I love to see it.
Yep, they're not on the golf course. So, sorry, Garrett hasn't played golf yet, but Sauce is getting into golf. He's getting really good, by the way.
I think that, so it was two separate incidents, if you will, right? And I think that, and I sent you guys this clip, maybe people, watching had seen this, but it was about a minute and a half. It was Kyle Brandt on NFL Network this morning. And he made a really good comparison. Kind of what he said is that, a guy like Aaron Rodgers craves something like that, right? And it's one of those things where he used the Sopranos, a Sopranos comparison where he said, there was a scene where, Tony would tell a joke, and I'm paraphrasing here, and all of his guys would laugh. And somebody said to him, hey, man, they're just laughing because you're the boss. So then he went they were at the dinner table, and he told just the worst joke he could ever tell. And everybody just started dying laughing. And he's like, oh, they are laughing because I'm the boss, right? So I think taking that to Aaron Rodgers is that Salah's not giving him pushback, right? We know Hackett isn't giving him pushback. No. So I think Rodgers appreciates someone that isn't going to just be like, yes, sir, whatever you say, sir. You're absolutely right, sir. I think he appreciates that Garrett is like, listen, man, here's what I see. Here's how I kind of want it. And then you go back and forth and you figure it out, right? So I think this is nothing but healthy. And of course, it's going to be fodder for everybody that's not a Jet fan, for the national media, for people like Colin Cowherd, right? It's always going to be a big deal.
Can't stand Colin Cowherd,
man. All of those people, right? But I think for people who look at it for what it is, and I think it's also a situation, look, if you've never played a sport at any level, you're not going to get it, right? You're not going to get what it's like to, and it doesn't matter if you play in high school, college, whatever it is. You're never going to understand what it's like to be on a field and have to hash something out with someone. It doesn't mean that you're mad at them. It doesn't mean, that you're angry.
Just say hand in the dirt. You never had your hand in the dirt.
I'm passionate. You're passionate. And you got to, hash things out. So I see nothing wrong with it. They addressed it, and it's a good thing, Yeah.
Yep. I'm just over it. Just two rock stars being rock stars, No, that's my bitch. No, that's my bitch. Blah blah blah. Same goal. This team is on the same page, and yeah, I mean, like once again, will just emphasize this about Joe Douglas. A lot of the emphasis on getting a lot of these guys that they got to build this roster from the shit roster that he inherited was about building a good culture as well. And these are both culture guys, as we're talking about with Sauce and fucking Garrett, and even Jermaine and Brees. I'm gonna still echo Brees really good in front of the mic. It's a good culture that they have. So like some heatedness is no big deal to me. I think it's okay. But speaking of the man Rodgers, he threw 6 touchdowns today. I don't know if you guys saw that little nugget, but he threw 6 touchdowns today in practice. That guy's he's gonna win MVP, dude. I swear to God, he's gonna fucking win MVP, man.
Well, what I would say is it would be nice, but don't need him to be the MVP, right? But with that said,
I want him to be MVP. I want that dude to be. No, let me go. I want that dude to be fucking MVP. Come back after all the bullshit shit that he's been taking from the media for the last fucking couple of years, and just to basically say, I still fucking got it. I'm fucking Aaron Rodgers. We'll be a 5-time MVP, which would tie the record with fucking Peyton Manning. I'm fucking one of the GOATs. I'm gonna bring a fucking Super Bowl to this team. Fuck you all. You know, I want that from Rodgers, and he has that fucking little chip on his shoulder right now, and it's showing in fucking practice, which is why he's tearing up a top 5 defense in the NFL every fucking practice. He's looked fucking good. Let's fucking go.
Well, what I would say, right, is that I get it. I think there's a difference between want and need, right? I think
I want it.
I get you want it. I get it.
Yeah, everyone wants it.
Everybody wants it. We all want it. I want Aaron Rodgers to be the MVP. But I'm saying that the Jets don't need him to be the MVP. And that's the difference, right? But I also think going back to just today's performance, I think the biggest thing to take away is that today's entire practice was red zone, 20 and in, right?
Yeah.
And say whatever you want about Hackett. I'm not a huge fan.
Gold zone.
But this is his specialty, right? And to see Rodgers throw 6 touchdown passes in the red zone against this defense, right? 3 of them to Garrett Wilson, also 2 to Breece Hall. And 1 to Malachi Corley, right? I mean, this is a big deal, right? Because it's something that they've struggled with, since Robert Saleh and the staff have been here. So to see that against this defense in a completely, red zone dedicated practice that he played this way, nothing but good things. So definitely a good day for the offense and a good day for Aaron. So nothing.
Yeah. I mean, look, six touchdowns is 6 touchdowns. It's awesome. Practice or not, you love to see it. I think this offense could be a top 10-ish unit next year. 8 to 10, 12, somewhere in that range. I think that's totally within the realm of possibility with this unit. Because, I mean, first of all, the Wilson and Rodgers connection, we already knew about that since last year. And that seems to be growing even more. He even shouted out Wilson when he was asked about today's practice. He specifically mentioned Wilson first, about, because that's how he kicked it off, and they ended it. They ended with a touchdown. They kicked one off. But I think the real story here is the connection heating up between Aaron Rodgers and Breece Hall. I think that's the biggest story out of this. 2 touchdowns. We saw what Breece Hall can do. I mean, we saw what Aaron Rodgers can do when he has a running back that can catch, and that's shifty. And it was Aaron Jones. This could be Aaron Jones 3.0, because I think Breece is more talented. So, to see that building, how could you not love it? It's just, I think Breece is just going to absolutely be a monster next year. And, we have Aaron Rodgers and him, all the things are lining up for him to have a monster year and be the engine that leads us to, the playoffs and beyond, hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm going to stick with the MVP shit. Actually, you know what? I'm going to say this. I want Michael Clemens to win Defensive Player of the Year more than Aaron Rodgers to win MVP, just because of the shirtlessness and just how evil he is. That guy. You know what I mean?
hope he does. I hope he does well because I mean we kind of need it,
Right.
especially if this Reddick shit doesn't calm down.
I will
we
say
definitely
this.
need Clemens.
I will say this. There's some fucking offensive player of the year candidates in Brees and Garrett. If this season goes as planned, right? If the Jets, I'd say this: if the Jets win like 12 to 13 games, which should win the division, right? And then like maybe if they win the conference, that Aaron Rodgers is the MVP. Even if it's like a 4,000 yards, 30 touchdown, 8 interception season, I think that wins MVP. But anyway, I'm just gonna go real quick to the next point since it seems to be mute before we talk to the next topic. Michael Carter II got hurt in practice today, or was it today or yesterday? It was one of the two. But basically, it's an ankle injury. He was able to limp off. Saleh says it's not a big deal and it's not going to be long term, according to Zach Rosenblatt of The Athletic. And he's a stud, and I'd argue that he's the second most important corner on that team outside of Sauce, more important than DJ Reed because it's a little bit easier to replace. I think we're going to be okay with him on that one, right? So I just wanted to kind of echo that real quick before the next topic, which is more about the defense. Any comments on that can last less than a minute?
No, I mean just he's had some ankle issues in the past, but they've never been anything long term. So I don't think it's bad, but they did say he was limping like heavily. They didn't just say he was limping, so that's a little bit of a worry. And I don't know if I put too much stake in Saleh's assessment of injury. I think I'm just waiting to see what happens, but I don't think it'll be that big of a deal. Ankles are usually something that clear up.
And I think he has plenty of time before season starts. Yeah. He doesn't need spring training. He doesn't need preseason reps. So I think it'll be totally fine.
Yeah. Worst case scenario, he has over a month. So
exactly.
That's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Now the next topic, which was interesting, and let's try not to mention Will McDonald here, although I know it's going to have to be in there. It's
going to have to.
But yeah, it's going to have to. But let's try not to because we've hoppered on these two so much for the last couple episodes, right? But basically the question that we imposed in our group chat, and hopefully none of the points are forgotten that were mentioned in the group chat because I mentioned, hey, let's save it for the show because it's a group chat and we tend to forget things. But and these guys fucking hate on me because they're like, this is just prep. Let's get ready. And I'm like, whatever. I don't care. But basically, the question is this defense going to decline? Just for echoing, the last 2 years, they've been a top 5 defense in DVOA, and they've been number 1 per PFF each season. It's a stud defense, and like
absolutely
they should. And I think the answer is maybe, but I don't think it drops anywhere outside of the top 5. There's just so much depth and talent on this defense all across on all the levels, which is except maybe safety, but it seems like the safeties are not becoming an issue in this training camp. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on this? I'll go to Monty first.
First of all, like, you know, I was one to kind of, I guess, maybe spark this conversation and just was whatever, but I don't feel that strongly about it. It's not like I think the defense is going to fall off or be anything crazy. Like, I just think that it'll be noticeably not as strong or featured or what have you. Yeah, I mean, that I just think we take like a slight step just because we've, you know, as a team and as an organization focused so much on offense in this offseason. You know, that's what's been the highlight. That's what's been getting the attention. Offense will be on the field more than last year. And you know, there's other things like I didn't like that we lost John Franklin Myers, and you know, Quentin Johnson wasn't that great, but he's gone too. And then now we have
Kinlaw,
you know,
I like Kinlaw.
I don't love
Kinlaw,
and I don't love Kinlaw, and I think it's not arguable if he's a
right. But we lost Sheldon Rankins. We lost Sheldon Rankins, and we're like, oh no, and then they just plugged it in with another big body, and it seemed to work out.
Yeah, again, when you have Quinn and Williams, I mean, you can do a lot. You know what I mean? It's you know, you can kind of take that hit, but again, still, I mean, that's still a little bit of a decline there. But you know, then there's good spots, like for example, Chuck Clark coming back, I think is a underrated thing that's going to happen to our defense. I mean, you know, just this week in practice, you know, Braylon Allen was running the ball and Chuck Clark came in and just stopped them right in his tracks. I mean, like Chuck, you know, Braylon Allen's a big boy. Chuck Clark can hit. You know, Chuck Clark was a durable Iron Man type guy on the Ravens, played like 100% of his snaps or some crazy percentage. Here's a quote from Chuck Clark. Actually, it was one of those things where I'd never been hurt. It was just new. So for the first time ever in 20 years, I was playing football. I wasn't playing football. This embarrassed feeling came over me when I came to a new team. So I know how it, I've been in the past when a guy comes in. I understand that it's part of the game and injuries happen. I went through it for a reason, but I'm back. I think he's playing with a chip on his shoulder. I think Chuck Clark's going to be better than we think he is at that safety position. So, listen, I'm not sitting here thinking that the Jets, defense is going to be like whatever, such a big difference, in talent or ability. I just think that, between the Riddick stuff, between the, couple people that we lost, like John Franklin Myers, that's a little bit of depth there, between the fact that Will McDonald isn't, really showing that he's kind of at, peak or having a great camp so far. If this Riddick situation doesn't turn it around, and on top of that, Will isn't looking as good. I mean, the D-line is the crux of this defense, right? That's where it all starts, is this D-line. It's Q up front. It's Jermaine up front. It's the pass rush, and then it moves to the secondary and tertiary levels. But the D-line's where it all starts with. And, unless if this really, it's kind of all about this Riddick situation. Riddick is what made our defense jump back up to number one this year, is because we were like 2 or 3. And then as soon as we brought on Riddick, everyone was like, oh, for sure, it's their number one now. So I'm a little bit cruxed on this Riddick thing. Hopefully we figured it out. I think we will, but it doesn't look great at this moment. So we'll see how it plays out, but I'm not like super strongly married to us like having a huge. We still could be a top 3, defense. It's just a weird gut thing that I have. Let
me just say one thing about this Jets defense. It should, like, a lot of the guys are still below that 27, 28-year-old mark, right? Like a lot of these guys are just getting fucking better. All right. Sauce is fucking a child. But nasty. Michael Carter also getting reaching that year, right? He's below the 27, right? Quinnen still below that number. Jermaine still below that number. Quincy's a little older, but he had his best season last year. Mosley's a fucking stud and still going to stay a stud. DJ Reed is still a stud and going to be a stud. Those safeties, Tony Adams and Ashton, are very young, right? Chuck Clark, there's a lot of things here. And by the way, just to reemphasize on how, ineffective technically those interior guys were outside of Quinnen. If you go to the Pro Football Focus grades of the guys that had a minimum of 100 snaps last year, their 3 worst graded guys were all Al Woods, Quentin Jefferson, and Solomon Thomas. They only kept Thomas. So, I mean, I don't know. I just think, I mean, they do have the sacks. Quentin Jefferson had 8, but he only had 29 pressures on 240 snaps, on pass snaps. So they weren't that, really getting to the quarterback, right? The constant pressure that you're really looking for, right? And obviously, Franklin Myers will be missed, right? Because he did tween inside, for those third down plays to clean shit up. But I think Michael Clemens could kind of fill that gap. I don't know. I just think that, straight up, it's such a young defense still, and they're just getting – and I think a lot of the guys are still on the ascend that even if there's something falling off, I think it's still just going to be at the level that it's been.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I feel like, something that you had mentioned, Monty, which I think also hits the nail on the head, right? This offense is just going to help the defense, right? They're not going to be on the field as much. They're not going to have to play tight, knowing that if they give up, 3 points, the game is potentially over. They're going to be playing, I think, free and, unencumbered, and they're not going to have the weight of the world on their shoulders, because now it's, listen, if we're a little bit more aggressive, Aaron can get it back, right? We're not going to be on the field for the majority of the game. We're not going to have the worst starting field position defensively in the NFL or be, bottom in that. So there's a lot of benefits that just a functional offense will give to this defense. And I think additionally, John, you would have mentioned it in our group chat, the continuity. This unit has been together. The coaching staff has been together, right? These guys are in a place now where
they know where they're going to be with the other eyes closed.
They don't have to think; they can just play and react. And so I think all of those things, along with John's point about being ascending players, like we haven't seen the best of Jermaine or Sauce or Q or Quincy, right? They're just going to get better and better. And I think when you have
maybe Q, we've seen the best of the best.
I mean, he's still only 26.
He's still at that fucking level, but like so maybe that's as good as you could fucking get.
I mean, top 3 defensive linemen in football, arguably, the best. I don't think you can get better than that. So, we're looking at a defense that has everything that they need, haven't lost much in terms of, production. And I think a guy like Kinlaw, he's hungry. He's been traded. He hasn't been as successful. He hasn't lived up to being a first-round pick. So I think he's been humbled a little bit. And let's see what the staff can get out of him. So I'm not worried about the defense.
He had a good interview.
He did, yeah. And so he's a guy that you root for. And I just, I just trust, like you said, Monty Ulbrich. I really trust him. And I think he's going to find a way to get these guys going. Hopefully he can do that with Mcdonald.
Yes, I was just going to say that. I hope we can do it with Mcdonald.
Yeah, and we'll see where it goes. But I still think this is a top 3, top 5 defense at worst.
Yeah, I think it's going to be good. That's like very generic on that one. All right, so then our last topic of the night is relating to, I guess, Tippmann, who's basically having some snap issues. That's kind of what they've been saying and all that, but Rodgers has spent some time with him on that to kind of just kind of correct the whole thing. I think it's going to be fine, but I don't know. What do you guys kind of think on that one? I didn't show much excitement on that.
No, I mean, I think one of the things that that is interesting is it's something that, cropped up last year as well. Friend of the show, Michael Nania, talked about that a little bit on Twitter. I think they wrote about it, at their site, Jets X Factor, about last year and kind of what's going on. And it is something that has cropped up. And I do think, it could be a product of Tippmann having to play different positions last year, Tippmann being banged up last year. So I think it's going to be just a little bit of a work in progress. And I like what Aaron Rodgers said about it. He said, listen, Tippmann has the potential to be an all-pro. He can take the criticism, right? Yeah. And I think he's going to be fine. Yeah, Rodgers is going to work with him. Rodgers is going to, straighten it out. I think Tippmann gets it. He's a career center. So, this wasn't something that really cropped up in college. I think last year was just a first for him in 100 different ways, right? Rookie in the NFL, again, playing guard, then center, 4 different quarterbacks. So I think it'll be fine. They just have to work on it and and get it right. So I don't think it's anything to be concerned about now.
Go ahead, Monty.
Yeah, I mean, you don't love to hear it, right? It's the guy who's snapping the ball there, Aaron Rodgers. You don't want any sort of issue with O-line getting Rodgers the ball, any sort of just mechanical, bullshit like that. That's just like should be an afterthought. You don't want that sort of stuff coming up. But he's a second-year guy. He was good last year. There weren't any issues snapping the ball last year, really, that I could see or that we could see, maybe 1 or 2 times. But, if that's it over a whole season, I'll take it. Yep. The quote from Saleh was just, first day of pads, some of the operational stuff wasn't as clean with the snap and all that with Joe Tippmann and the quarterback. That's what Saleh said. So it's not like, it sounds bad, but it's not like, he's like messing up every snap. Is this and that. I mean, what about those 6 touchdown passes? I'm pretty sure Joe Tippmann snapped the ball on all of those.
Yeah, so, he should get credit for that too.
So he kind of should get a little credit for that too. So I definitely think that, I think that it'll be all right ultimately. But you you don't love to hear it, but we'll see. We'll just keep an eye on it. But
yep. Yep, exactly. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think he's a professional at this point, and it's just like one of those things that it'll just get figured out. And I guess we'll see what happens when it does happen, right? If it does happen, right? Anyway, I guess we're good on final thoughts right now. I will let Adnan do it because that's the alphabetical order.
Sounds good to me. I mean, look, I think camp is off to a pretty good start, and this is the thing that you get when you have two talented sides of the ball, right? The offense is going to win some days. The defense is going to win some days. This isn't like the training camps we've seen, not last year, but the year before. Even last year, the defense was ahead of the offense. I don't think you're seeing that now with the additions that they've made. So I think that, it's really a sight for sore eyes to see, this kind of performance, this kind of competitiveness, in training camp and practices. So really good thing. Like John mentioned at the top of the show, finally tomorrow we get live football. Obviously we won't see any starters, but this is just a signal that, football is here and we aren't going to go without football now until the beginning of February. So that is a great thing. Really looking forward to it.
Tomorrow's football. Tomorrow is football. Yeah,
tomorrow is
Texans
football.
Bears
start officially tomorrow.
A lot to look forward to. So just gonna take it all in, and just watch the Jets continue to get better and better. So very excited for what's coming up.
Go ahead as I put in a bet about tomorrow's preseason game, but go for it.
Degenerate.
Hey man, football.
So
I've been betting like
2
weeks.
So true. It's been a while for you, but still, you had to jump on the preseason shit. Anyway,
minus 1.5, dude. Houston minus 1.5.
Yeah,
under 30.5.
So I mean, pretty much. I mean, we kind of went over all the stuff I would really, say I don't really have too much more to add. Just really, really pumped for Jets football. Really, really looking forward to like joint practices, seeing some preseason stuff. It's just, it's practice season. So there's going to be some stuff that gets overblown. There's going to be some stuff that's legit. What I'm going to be looking for is the things that are patterns. Like if we're still seeing Will McDonald struggling, if we're still seeing, Tippmann, fumbling snaps, if we're still seeing, certain things not happening, then, you get a little bit worried. At this point, it's just, kind of a little bit of an overreaction, maybe one way or another. Maybe some things we're worrying too little about, some things we're worrying too much about. But we won't know for a little bit of time. So for right now, though, it's just a good spot that we're at. We have a great defense, a great offense. Knock on wood, everyone's been relatively safe so far. Hopefully, God willing, everyone stays super healthy and that we can finally get a team that we deserve to play together for a whole entire season like the Chiefs fucking do every friggin' year, it feels like. And yeah, that's all I want to see out of this team. So, it's good. We're in a good place. So let's go.
Yeah. I'm looking at, I think the Bears are going to win tomorrow. So I'm putting a little bit on the money line for them. Just because it's a Bears home. Well, it's in a Hall of Fame thing, but that's closer to Chicago, right? So in theory, there's going to be people there excited for Caleb Williams. He's not going to play probably, but still take that. And they have some weird game features on FanDuel, but basically it's just like over on yards, rushing, receiving, and touchdowns, +1, +2, +3, and all that. Not really that exciting.
When are the joints? Do you guys know when the joints are?
Joint practices?
Mm-hmm.
So, it'll be later. The joint.
Yeah, Washington's the first one, right? Washington's the first joint practice is coming up, probably, right? Yeah, I mean that's going to be next week.
Are they joint practice? Because I think they're doing it with the Panthers and the Giants. Are they doing it with all three teams they're playing?
I mean, Washington would seem to make sense. They're right here. Who knows? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. We'll fuck around and find out.
Oh, okay. All right. I found it. First one's on the 9th, and we're going to Carolina.
Yeah, okay. That's what I thought. Okay.
And then Tampa's coming to us on the 16th.
Yeah. Interesting. Tampa again. Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Fair enough. It's my final thoughts, right? Yeah, it is. I am just excited that football's around the corner. Unfortunately, that means summer is over. Fantasy drafts will start happening. You'll start to get that feel good feeling, especially preseason games are fun to go to because there's you're getting football, but you don't have like $100 on the game or like a real interest on what happens, right? So it's kind of nice, it's like going to the draft, right? Remember Adnan when we went to the last draft at Radio City? It's kind of a nice feeling. Everyone's kind of all happy. Oh, you're that fan? Oh, good for you, But then, like, when week 1 starts, fuck the Patriots, fuck the Bills, fuck the Dolphins, and all that shit. So, I don't know. I think it's an interesting time. I think let's just hope the injury bug, knock on wood, I got a wooden table here, doesn't hit the Jets. And if it hits other teams, okay. But I'd rather win the way we should win, which is just dominate. Rodgers gets an MVP and fucking just slurps his cock all over everyone's faces. Anyway, in the meantime, fuck the Patriots, fuck the Dolphins, fuck the Bills, and go Jets. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. You could have gotten free Commander Jets tickets if you'd liked, comment, subscribe in the last video, but you didn't, so I'm selling them. So fuck you guys for not liking. Have a good one.
Peace.
Peace.